On the afternoon of March 25, 1975, in the quiet suburbs of Wheaton, Maryland, two sisters walked out of their home, never to return. Katherine Mary Lyon, aged 10, and her younger sister, Sheila Lyon, aged 12, vanished without a trace. What began as an ordinary day during spring break quickly spiraled into one of the most haunting mysteries in American true crime history. A case that left an entire community paralyzed with fear and a family shattered beyond repair. The Lyon family was well known in Wheaton. Their father, John Lyon, was a popular local radio personality who worked at MAL in Washington, D.C. The girls themselves were vibrant and full of life. Katherine, the younger of the two, loved to draw and had a soft, artistic personality. Sheila, the elder sister, was more outgoing and confident, often taking the lead when they went out together. They were inseparable, and that afternoon, their plan was simple. Walk to the Wheaton Plaza shopping mall, just half a mile from their home, to enjoy the freedom of a warm spring day. The girls left their house around 11 a.m. They were expected back home by 4 p.m. for dinner. Their mother reminded them not to stay out too long, a typical request from a parent who never imagined the unimaginable could happen in broad daylight, in a safe suburban neighborhood, on a busy shopping day. The Wheaton Plaza was buzzing with activity. Witnesses later recalled seeing the sisters at several locations within the mall. They were spotted at the Orange Bowl, a local pizza shop where they grabbed lunch. Another witness recalled seeing them browsing records at a music store. But it was near the Woolworth's department store where things took a chilling turn. Multiple people reported seeing the girls talking to a man carrying a tape recorder. This man, later nicknamed the Tape Recorder Man, was described as tall, with long dark hair and a beard. He reportedly approached several children that day, asking them if they would be willing to speak into his recorder about topics like their favorite foods and whether their mothers knew where they were. Innocent questions on the surface, but deeply disturbing in context. One young boy who spoke with the man recalled feeling uneasy about his strange presence. The Lyon sisters, too polite to brush him off, were seen standing with him for several minutes. That was one of the last confirmed sightings of them alive. When the girls didn't return home by 4 p.m., their mother grew anxious. At first, she thought they had simply lost track of time. But as the minutes stretched into hours, panic set in. By evening, their father John Lyon used his radio platform to make a desperate plea, broadcasting to thousands of listeners, begging anyone with information to come forward. That night, police were called and the search began. The disappearance of two young sisters in broad daylight rocked the entire region. Police, volunteers, and even the National Guard joined in the search effort. Flyers were plastered everywhere, roadblocks were set up, and helicopters hovered over wooded areas. For days, the Wheaton community held its breath, praying for good news. But no trace of Katherine or Sheila was ever found. The Tape Recorder Man became the prime person of interest. Sketches of him circulated widely, and police urged the public to report any information. But leads quickly grew cold. Some believed the girls had been lured into a car, while others speculated they had been taken by someone they knew. With no physical evidence, the investigation turned into a labyrinth of dead ends. For years, the case remained unsolved. The Lyon family endured unimaginable torment. Each holiday passed with empty chairs at the dinner table. Each news update brought hope, only to be dashed by disappointment. The case became one of the most infamous unsolved disappearances in American history. But decades later, a chilling truth would begin to emerge. In the early 2000s, investigators revisited the cold case with fresh eyes. They re-examined files, re-interviewed witnesses, and explored old suspects. One name stood out: Lloyd Lee Welch, a drifter and known pedophile who had been spotted at the Wheaton Plaza on the day the sisters vanished. At the time, Welch had actually come forward, giving a statement to police that he had seen the girls talking to a man with a tape recorder. His story seemed like that of a helpful witness, but in reality, it was an attempt to insert himself into the investigation and deflect suspicion. Years later, detectives learned that Welch's account was full of contradictions. When they dug deeper, they uncovered a dark and disturbing trail. Welch had an extensive criminal record, including charges related to child abuse. More alarmingly, he had ties to Bedford County, Virginia, an area with secluded, wooded terrain that could easily conceal dark secrets. In 2013, investigators confronted Welch with new evidence and inconsistencies in his story. Over time, he cracked. He admitted to being involved in the abduction of the Lyon sisters. According to Welch, after luring the girls away from the mall, he transported them to his relative's property in Virginia. It was there, in a chilling revelation, that the girls were allegedly murdered and their remains destroyed. Welch's family members were implicated as accomplices, accused of helping to cover up the crime. Some relatives later testified against him, describing how Welch had arrived at their home with two young girls and how he boasted about getting rid of them. The testimony was horrifying, painting a picture of calculated cruelty and generational abuse within the Welch family. Despite extensive searches in Bedford County, the remains of Katherine and Sheila were never recovered. The land was vast, and decades had passed, erasing physical evidence. Still, investigators felt confident they had finally uncovered the truth. In 2017, more than 40 years after the disappearance, Lloyd Lee Welch pleaded guilty to the abduction and murder of the Lyon sisters. He was sentenced to 48 years in prison, effectively ensuring he would die behind bars. For the Lyon family, the conviction brought a measure of justice, but not closure. Their daughters' lives were stolen, their futures erased, and their bodies never laid to rest. The Lyon sisters' case stands as a chilling reminder of how predators can hide in plain sight, even in the most ordinary places. A busy shopping mall in broad daylight should have been safe. But for Katherine and Sheila, it became the backdrop of a nightmare. The tape recorder man, who once seemed like a suspicious stranger, turned out to be a smokescreen. The real monster was standing even closer. Someone bold enough to insert himself into the investigation. Someone who thought he was clever enough to evade capture forever. But time has a way of unraveling even the darkest secrets. The case continues to haunt the Washington, D.C. area, not only because of the horror of the crime, but because it marked the end of innocence for an entire community. Parents in Wheaton never looked at shopping malls, or even sunny afternoons, the same way again. The chilling facts revealed decades later confirm what many had feared all along. The Lyon sisters had fallen prey to evil that hid behind a friendly face. Today, their story is remembered as both a tragedy and a warning. Evil does not always lurk in the shadows. It can be right in front of us, smiling, pretending to be harmless. The mysterious vanishing of Katherine and Sheila Lyon will forever remain one of America's most heartbreaking true crime stories. Though justice was delayed, it was not denied. But for the Lyon family, and for all who remember the bright young sisters who never came home, the pain lingers and the unanswered question remains. What final moments did Katherine and Sheila endure, and why did innocence have to pay the ultimate price?